Alright, hey, it's me again, and I'm going to continue from where I left off. So let's see. The extraordinary okay, I'm at number 8 in lack of mechanism. Anyway, the extraordinary migration patterns of butterflies and birds, which lack any plausible materialistic explanation. Okay, the extraordinary migration patterns of butterflies. I'm not really sure about that. I can't give you an answer, but I can tell you that it probably evolved that way for a reason. Birds, because they have the ability to sense magnetic fields, and they know where they're going, and they know where they're coming back to, so they can pretty much go wherever they want. I don't know how it evolved that way, it just did. Evolution does not account for the immense amount of information in the genome, as well as the origin of information processing systems in the cell. Information always has a sender, who must be God in this case. Okay, first of all, I'm going to go ahead and say that the premise of this argument that information always has a sender, who must be God in this case, is false. You can't just assume that it's God. Evolution does not account for the immense amount of information in the genome. I don't see why it doesn't. Genomes, I know they started relatively, well, very small, but with duplication, how it works is, okay, say you have a creature with 2 chromosomes, which it needs to sexually replicate. How chromosomes can do a few things. They can double duplicate and stick to each other. Not stick to each other per se, but there will be 2 copies of that, therefore a double increase in information, or a 2-fold increase in information. So say you have 2 genomes, now you have 4, but these 2 are completely useless because you already have these 2. Or say a genome can split, and that'll say turn it from 2 genomes into 3 or 4, depending on how it splits or how it doubles up. And that actually happens. It's there's a video on YouTube actually about this. Google it, or YouTube it. It's how the number of chromosomes changes or something. I'm not really sure. There's a guy who explains it pretty well. He can explain it better than I could. Let's see. 10. The manner in which chickens return to their chicken coops at the same time and enter the chicken coops in the same order each day. I don't know anything about that because I've never heard of that, but I'm sure it's because they're trained to do that by the farmers. Not trained, but you get the idea. Symbiosis. There are many examples where creatures rely on each other in order to survive, which could not arise through evolution. Okay, explain to me why they could not arise through evolution. Grass cannot survive without a certain fungus that helps it fix nitrogen from the atmosphere, and the fungus can't survive without the grass. They must have appeared on Earth at the same time. Okay, that's not necessarily true. Say there were primitive forms of grass that did not need the nitrogen, and then once the fungus evolved or appeared, the grass adapted to need the fungus, and then without the fungus it could no longer survive. Basic example, I don't know how that happened, but that's stupid. Consciousness. No animal displays self-awareness such as clothing, morality, tool-making, or self-sacrifice to the same extent that man does. That doesn't mean that there's no such thing as consciousness. It is unclear how a random mutation could have arisen which accounts for humanity's significantly higher cognitive ability. Okay, it's not one random mutation, and it's... This is just kind of funny. I'm sorry. There are a lot of animals that display self-awareness. No other animals can really make clothing. If you put a spot like on a dolphin's head right here and then put a mirror up to it, he'll investigate the spot. He'll see, oh, what's that spot? I have to get it off. You know, he won't say that obviously, but he'll think it. Dolphins have been shown to have IQs of 85 to 90 in the human range from touchscreen IQ tests that have been administered in research facilities, so I don't know what you're trying to say there. Morality, there's so many things that involve morality with chimpanzees, bonobos. Just Google it, chimpanzee morality, bonobo morality. A lot of them use tools too, and self-sacrifice. Okay, maybe that is partially unique to us, but not. I don't know any examples of that in the animal world, but I'm sure there are some. For example, actually no, I do. Dolphins have attacked sharks that were about to attack humans, stuff like that. I mean, it's stupid. Let's see. Humans exhibit behaviors such as performing science, creating art and music, dancing, and other intellectual and artistic behaviors which could not have been produced by random mutations. Okay, there's no evolutionary reason why these should be favored. This presupposes that in order for something to evolve, it must be favored. That's just not true. I'm not even going to bother with that one. Trematode parasites, like many other kinds, lack a plausible evolutionary phylogeny, I don't know how to say that, though they can be easily explained by teleological design. I don't really know what that's talking about, so I'm not going to answer that one. In addition, evolution cannot explain the many complex sex-determining systems. For example, in most mammals, females have 2 X chromosomes, where males have an X and a Y chromosome. But in birds, many insects, and other organisms, the situation is reversed. In flies, sex is determined by the ratio of non-sex chromosomes to X chromosomes, so that males have only 1 X, where females have 2. It is impossible for evolution to create these new sex-determining systems ex nihilo. Okay, that's not really true. I don't know how they arose that way, but there's nothing that says that that can be true. Several species of fish in the Arctic Ocean have chemicals in their blood which essentially act as antifreeze. Evolution requires gradual change, leaving no plausible explanation as to how the fish survived before developing this trait. Now, I don't know how that arose particularly, but I know of a real-world example of that in humans. Okay, the Tibetans have developed genes that have helped them survive in the high-altitude, low-oxygen atmosphere. Just Google it. Tibetan genetic adaptation, I don't know. You'll find it. So, the blood of tunicates, I don't know what that is, such as the sea squirt, is based on the rare element vanadium instead of the abundant iron used in other vertebrates, which would have required a complete retooling of its entire circulatory biochemistry. I don't really know what that's talking about, so I'm not going to answer that one either. Animals exist in isolated places without any plausible motivation or means for getting there, such as on remote islands or more than 1,200 feet high on top of the vertical cliffs of Devil's Tower. Even humans, though large and intelligent, were unable to ascend the peak until 1893 and required specialized climbing equipment. Okay, in the example of remote desert islands, there are pieces of flotsam, which is basically floating wood, floating objects, and animals could float to islands on those. That's not really a plausible example or that is a plausible example, and more than 1,200 feet high on top of vertical cliffs of Devil's Tower. Okay, first of all, a bird can fly 1,200 feet high. That's not a problem. Second, there are so many animals that can climb. Have you ever seen a mountain goat? They can climb up virtually any surface that it has any angle to it. There's a picture of them climbing a dam in Germany or something. I don't know. And that's just a faulty argument. Okay. Maladaptation. I've got some time, so I'm going to hurry through this. Jellyfish in Hawaii. Wait, maladaptation in the first place. Like I said a bunch of times, evolution does not require adaptation. It is change over time. It often leads to adaptation, but it isn't required. So anyway, jellyfish in Hawaii swarm to the beaches roughly 9 to 10 days after each full moon for no apparent evolutionary reason. I never heard of that. I don't really know why they would do that, but oh well. Variation in chromosome count, ploidy, is impossible in evolution. That's not true. I explained that earlier. One member of a species with 2 sets of chromosomes cannot mate with a member of 4. Thus, the chromosome count of a species to change and thus account for the variety of counts in nature. A vast portion of species would have to evolve a new chromosome set simultaneously. No, they would not. The human prostate surrounds the urethra, and in doing so provides many benefits. Evolutionists consider the structure to be poor design, which should mean that natural selection would have eliminated that design. Not true again, because natural selection does not require the elimination of anything that is harmful. Anyway, inability to account for widely observed altruism in animals, as it reduces an animal's ability to survive. The existence of altruism between different species, which is not uncommon, remains an obstinate enigma. Not surprisingly, atheist evolutionists have done their utmost to deny animal altruism. No, I have not. I don't understand what this is trying to argue. Anyway, too many deleterious mutations. I don't know what that means. Each generation of humans has far more negative mutations than the positive natural selection can remove. Evolution is thus impossible, as species would become non-viable long before they could diverge. I don't even know what really to say to that one. That's just stupid. How do you define too many negative mutations? This is ridiculous, really. I'm gonna stop it here and go on to the next one. So watch that one.